All right. Well, welcome everyone. Welcome to Strip Club. Today I'm going to show you a classic strip club pattern. Do you know the name of this block of this pattern?
Jacob's ladder.
Oh, right, because you have the pattern in your hand. It is called Jacob's Ladder, and it is a classic quilt block. We've now revised it so it starts with 2.5-inch strips. Surprise! Every month we come out with a pattern that uses 2.5-inch strips. For this one, we've spiced it up a little bit. Not only does it start with a bundle of 2.5-inch strips that has various prints in it, it also has, do you like my wand? This was a gift. It also has a light background, a medium background, and then an accent. And the accent here creates a star effect. And it's that star effect that is a little different with this Jacob's Ladder. Normally you don't have that with the basic Jacob Ladder block. It is one simple block. Would you like to see how it comes together?
Yes.
Let me first show you the block. So now here in the block you can see the light, the medium, and the accent. Can you?
Yes.
So the light, the medium, and then the accent. That means everything else you see in the block comes from a bundle of 2.5-inch strips. In the pattern, and the pattern is available at your local quilt shop, and since you're here at your local quilt shop, you get the pattern. You'll see that all of these pieces come from a strip bundle. In this particular coloring, it's a bally pop. Everything else is additional fabric. Because there is so much additional fabric, you can make a larger size quilt with the addition of those pieces with just a single strip bundle. In fact, the quilt that you see here on the wall is a throw size. It finishes about 66 by 66, and it only needs 14 2.5-inch strips. Everything else comes from accent background and medium background. So a pattern like this, and there are other sizes in the pattern too. There's a wall hanging size, and that only uses 7 strips. A pattern like this is a great way to use up strips left over from another project. How many times do we really use all 40 strips that are in a bundle? There may always be some leftovers, so this is a great leftover one. This is also a great pattern to use complete scrappy because you have the other colors to soothe and define the design. And then you can make everything else pop with the print strips. So when I say print strips, I mean different fabrics. And because we're only using 14 fabrics, I like to use 14 different fabrics in a quilt like this. Many bundles when you have a whole lot of strips, I don't mind duplicating, sometimes using a strip 3 times. But when there's only 14 strips, I like having different fabrics. That keeps the scrappy effect. And that's the beauty of all of these strip bundles on the market. They do provide what I call controlled scrappy, because you start with a collection that already looks good together. But then with all of those different fabrics, you have a lot of variety going on in your quilt. So to put this together, we have to make 4 patches. And many of the 4 patches are simple 4 patches. And then there's 2 4 patches that have half square triangles. This little 4 patch here, this is a 4 patch. This has 2 half square triangles. So let's start there, shall we? In order to do this, we are going to use our strip tube ruler. If you don't have the strip tube ruler now, you must be new to us. This is Strip Tube Junior. He's our creation, and he's a smaller size of a strip tube ruler. Strip Tube Senior, as we like to call him, actually is 9.5 inches. This one finishes 6.5 inches. He looks like a triangle, but just wait. So the first thing we'll do is sew 2 strips together. In this case, we're sewing a print strip to a background strip. And they are 2.5-inch strips. Here's a print strip. On the back side here is a background strip. 1/4-inch seam up along the top and down the bottom to create a tube. Are you with me? Yes. So this is a tube. Then we take our strip tube ruler. We put the designated line on the bottom stitching line and cut up and down to cut out a triangle, right? You're cutting out a triangle because it's a triangle shape. Triangle might look a little bit like this. As you pull this away and open it up, you get diagonally pieced square. You get a diagonally pieced square.
Brilliant.
Thank you. That's much better. Obviously, we do this technique quite a bit here at Cozy. It is a fantastic way of making this half square triangle block. Can you see that? I know it's a white flannel board and a white background, so here's your block right there. Next time you cut, you'll cut off the top stitching line, and then the bottom, and then the top. The angles are exactly the same as you move from one block to the other. So make fresh cuts so that your second block is as accurate as it can be and it's not based off of your first block. Cut out a bunch of triangles. You want the $10 tip? Yeah. No one has given me $10 for this tip, by the way. Just saying, and it was my birthday. I'm just saying. So the $10 tip, so the first cut goes like this. That's a basic cut with a rotary cutter on your cutting mat. Next time I tell you, you're going to flip it around and cut like this. This is a little more awkward. I don't care if you're left-handed or right-handed. You've always got one that's going the wrong direction. So instead of flipping your ruler around, why don't you flip your strip set? So now you're cutting off of that same seam that was on the top. Now it's on the bottom. So flip up, and it is brilliant. Thank you. Flip up and down. Not my discovery. I think a customer showed me this. Another tip. This is a $5 tip. So we're up to 15. You're going to have to cut off dog ears. See these little pieces, these little triangles on each side? Those have to go bye-bye. The easiest way to cut these off is actually to keep it as the triangle just like you cut it. Put the same line on the same stitching line the other direction, and then whack off the left and the right. Right? Yeah. Another tip from a customer. I learned so much coming to work every day. So you'll make a bunch like this. And now you'll make a bunch more. Yeah, it's on the floor. Okay, nobody look. Because you don't drop stuff in your studio, do you? You can find everything in your studio all the time, right? Okay, so now we're going to do the same thing, only we have here an accent fabric to a background. All right? We will add these to a couple of 2.5-inch strips. One a background and one a print strip. That's one of your 4 patches. You with me? Mm-hmm. Okay. Now we're going to make the basic 4 patches. If you don't know how to make a 4 patch, it's super easy, probably one of the simplest things that we can do in quilting. Here we have a print strip sewn to a background strip. They're both 2.5 inches. Press in one direction. The pattern will tell you the best way to press for this block, because you also want the blocks to come together. So follow the directions for pressing. If you're ever reading a pattern and you see an arrow, that's your pressing direction. It probably also says press in that direction, but I know you don't always read the patterns, so do follow that arrow direction. 2.5 inches, we're going to cut out 2.5-inch segments like this. So here's one. Now to make a 4 patch, we simply take another 2.5-inch segment, which is on my studio floor, flip it around, and add it to the other side. So here we have 2 different fabrics to make a 4 patch. There's a 4 patch. So we'll make a 4 patch for these corners with background. Now we'll make a 4 patch for these 2 corners, part accent, part medium background. 1, 2, 3, 4 patches. 1, 2, 3, 4 patches, and the third row is also 3. So you will sew these 3 together as one, make a row, sew these 3 together, make another row, and then sew these 3 together. This is your block. Can you do it? Yes. I know you can. In the quilt, same block over and over again. We just twist and turn to create the effect. These 4 patches and these little star points, probably the trickiest thing in the quilt. Just follow the picture. You want to make sure they look like this in your block, because when they come together, when 4 come together, they will create that star. That's a secondary design. You can see the primary design. It's the ladder and Jacob's ladder. And then the secondary design is when 4 blocks come together to create the star. Pretty? Do you like it? Classic, isn't it? I was really pleased when I got this quilt back. Sometimes, well, I do all my design work in electric quilt. And so sometimes the quilts come back and I know exactly what they're going to look like because I've seen it already. I've just seen it digitally. This one came back and I was like, oh, it's prettier. Yay. Any questions on how to, oh, let me finish up with border 1, border 2, border 3. In our sample here, we repeated the light background for border 1. Border 2 is the medium, and then border 3, we repeated the accent. You don't have to use that same accent. You can go with something a little more, got a multicolor in the border, if you like. It's up to you. It's your quilt. I don't grade. Never have. Don't think I will. Something else I was going to tell you. The quilting is pretty, isn't it? We did that quilting on our, I say we, like I did it. I could have. I could have. This was done on our Bernina Q20, so this is done freehand. By our long arm quilter. When we first opened up the shop, my husband thought quilters, long arm quilters were quilters with really long arms. He's like, that's almost mean. Chances are he was joking, but it's a good story. I was going to say something else. Another colorway, is that what you want to know?
Yes. What's the name of the belly pop?
The name of the belly pop is Bohemian. And we have some here. It does almost look Christmassy, doesn't it? Doesn't it? Would you like to see what we chose for the back?
Yes.
Right? That's bold. That's also why I wore red. Another colorway. You are so lucky. We were this close to not having another one done. Well, I came back from market. You know, we go to market, which is International Market in Houston. And it's about a week of travel. And I swear it takes twice as many weeks to recover from a week of travel. So with that week out and then 2 weeks after that, that's pretty much 3 weeks. We're lucky we had this one done, much less another one done. But thanks to our fabulous sample makers, we have both. I think I can hold this one because this is the wall hanging. I'm going to show it to you vertically, but it can hang horizontally if you have that space on your wall, or vertically. I say I'm going to show it to you. Don't laugh at me. Here we go. Okay, you ready? So here we have a collection of purple fabrics, and we wanted to pull out the silver tones. So we chose, it's actually a fairy frost. Don't tell the quilt police. It's all batik fabrics and then fairy frost for the medium background. So the medium actually has a little silver sparkle to it. Can you see it in this light? And then a wonderful dot on dot for the light background. And then we went to a nice stark black for the stars. Pretty? This is 66 inches. I am 60 inches.
But you're on a stage.
Thank goodness for the stage.
Yeah.
So this only uses 7 strips. What a great way to use up strips left over from a strip bundle. Yes? Yeah. Lovely. And any questions on this? Any questions on? Okay, well, I'm going to do a shameless plug here. See the quilt over my right shoulder? That's my fabric with Timeless Treasure in a sample called Spangled. Has nothing to do with Jacob's Ladder. I just wanted to throw it out there. Free plug. So no questions on the pattern? Jacob's Ladder comes in 5 different sizes. It goes all the way up to a very large king. So if you need a classic pattern, use 2.5-inch strips. This is your go-to option. All right, my friends, if there's no other questions, maybe we'll do this again next month for a pattern that uses 2.5-inch strips. What do you say? Yes. Thank you for coming.